Welcome to the Dave and Dave. Here we go. A little
What number?
109.
Wow.
109.
Really my age.
Oh, I have renamed this, Pops.
I'm afraid to hear.
The market and mindset.
Okay, I like it.
That's what we talk about every week. Here's what I wrote. Number one, party like it's 1974. Less than 2,000 single-family homes available in the greater Las Vegas Valley. Will the eventual end of forbearance slow it down, or will it be the potential raise of interest rates? That's number one, which we'll talk about first. And then number two, tough to have a wake-up call without setting any alarm clocks. We're going to talk about the metaphors of that in your life. You like that?
Yes.
Okay. While I would love to have this man next to me, he's got multiple Zooms. We had a Zoom before this, and he has a Zoom after this. So here we are Zooming. So even in the post-pandemic world for him and I, still using the technology, which I think people will do, right? What do you think, right?
I do. I think that once it's been established that we're all looking to go back to human contact, but there's an efficiency with Zoom that sometimes is better than running from place to place.
I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, let's talk about this market. So yesterday, we had a long talk in our broker roundtable inside a Nest, Urban Nest, about the single family homes. First time I've ever seen it go under 2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a little context. When we're doing statistics, you can put it with multifamily or single family homes. Generally, the median price that you hear not only our market, but most markets reference is the median price for single family homes. Single family home is what exactly it says it is. It's a home that's not attached, right? And it's on its own piece of land, multifamily or your condos, townhomes, and whatnot. So if you're looking for a single family home in Las Vegas as of yesterday, there was 1,974 options, where we got about 4,400 in escrow, 4,900. Let me pull up the numbers while we're talking.
49.55.
4,955, which means we have a less than 2-week supply if we're basing it off of things in pending and contingent. I've never seen this.
The good news is with that many houses in escrow, it means that a lot of buyers are connecting with properties and getting the house sold. The bad news with an inventory that low, it means that it is very hard to find a traditional way of buying and having an appraisal as a guarantee and them paying closing costs or finding the house you need. So you must be a little untraditional to get the house bought in a market where you have more buyers, simple math, more buyers than houses to sell them.
So
I always say how lucky we are that in Las Vegas, there are new homes being built every day, because in a lot of markets across the United States, there are no instance, my Long Island old market, there are no such things as developments going up because the land is all built on. So we're very lucky as a relief to have the new homes.
what's interesting is that the investor market plays such a role, because anything under 350, let's say, is insanity. I would almost argue that you got a better shot if you live in the $500,000 price range. I mean, even one we just recently had.
Yeah, FHA, you're right.
Right. When we recently had, this is how spoiled this market has made agents. It was like 25 showings on one of our listings. We only had one offer, and it was a VA. And by the time they took out all the money, it was actually less than list. And to think in any other market that is an automatic yes, but the seller was willing to wait it out to get their price or above, which they did. Just accepted it last night, 5,000 over list cash. But yet
Wow.
it did, yeah, and it didn't. It ended up taking almost 10 days, which again,
In today's market, wow, 10 days. What's wrong with the house, Dave?
exactly, which shows from perspective wise how unbalanced it is. The fact that a house that's been on the market 10 days that has not gotten an offer for over list cash, something must be wrong with it. But it went over list cash. So a little bit of now, if it would have lasted another week, I think the seller would have actually went lower. So it just shows you that whether it's the stock market, whether it's any currency, or whether it's the housing market, easily 80% of it is mental, is perspective. Because we definitely have a housing shortage in the United States. There's no doubt. But it still can change with one piece of bad news and one little push of people start exiting, and then the herd mentality, not herd immunity, herd mentality goes the other way. Why are you laughing?
Because I think herd mentality right now is hooked into herd immunity. You know, I was speaking to someone yesterday from Chicago, and he said 3% of the people from Chicago are vaccinated. And then I listened to our news, and 31% of the people of Las Vegas are vaccinated. So I think that a little bit is hand in hand as people are feeling more comfortable. They're putting their houses on the market that they wouldn't, right? And I also think as people are more comfortable, they're going out to look at houses, maybe that they wouldn't have because they were staying in the house. So that's bringing a fresh pool of buyers and sellers that previously wanted to wait during the pandemic was in some sort of control.
I think yes and no. I mean, I think it's going to affect it both ways. And I'm curious if it'll balance out. I think a lot of people are going to go from, me included, for instance. My family is on the go. I'm an on the go family. When my 9-year old and my soon to be 8-year old are at home, now with my 5-month old, the house can get tight really quickly. Can. But the
And
girl,
makes you think, should I move and buy a bigger house?
should I add something on? I mean, I was looking at, I don't
Right.
even know if my community will allow it. I was looking at putting on these prefab little Quonset huts that I wanted just to escape my own house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to Hawaii. I'm getting out of the house. And then when we get back, the girls go from 2 days a week, which we've been able to have for the last 4 weeks, to full time. So now my house just got
Bigger.
bigger. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of nights we go out to dinner, or Angie and I go out, makes me feel like I'm not in the house all the time. The more, I mean, I'm already at the office a lot. I got plenty of space back here. But now the relationship with my home is changing and evolving quickly in the other direction. Are there a lot of people in that point? I've read multiple articles stating that even Google is doubling down on in-person work. I think that while work from home is always going to be a thing now and has been accelerated, it is not as far on the other side that people thought it would be. You agree with that?
I think that a lot of people do a lot of surveys and a lot of this is going to happen. But you know what? There's something to human touch or a group of us getting together and feeling the camaraderie of being a group again rather than being a single on a Zoom call.
Yes. Tactile, textural, whatever you want to call it. But do I think that companies have rethought their footprint?
Yes.
And without a doubt. And I think it has decreased in most cases for companies. So
And they say that commercial and office leasing are going to drop substantially as leases expire, and people are going to either renew for a portion of the space or not renew at all to find that they could do their job at home and we meet once a month somewhere else other than a full-blown office.
Well, I was having this conversation with someone recently, and I said, in the past, in 1996, if we had 500 agents, we would have needed 50,000 square feet. Am I wrong?
You're right.
Whereas with 500 agents now, we need maybe like 20,000 square feet. And maybe we needed 20 to 25 prior to the pandemic, right? And we've always been committed to having brick and mortar, but also delivering the hybrid approach where we pay our commissions over email, and we do everything like you never have to walk in, but we want you to walk in, right?
Right.
So when we first started, I'd say back in 2012, we were more of like a 60 to 7, probably like 70% of people brick and mortar, 20 to 30 to 40% virtual. Every single year it's gone up. And I'd say now after the pandemic, we're probably more 80-20, 20% brick and mortar, 80% virtual. But having a mothership, I believe, is super important. Super important. So back to that original point we started with. How many people were looking to move because they could work from home? Can they still work from home? Will you have to run back to where your company is to show your face more because you're afraid of someone else getting a promotion over you because they live a block? You see these things that people don't think about, right? Will you now say, all right, I can go on vacations, I can spend time outside of my home, I'm vaccinated, I feel more comfortable, whatever it is, I'm less likely to sell my house. Is that just a small blip, or will that affect the general amount of people trading homes?
Well, let's talk for us. We can only talk personally. You know, I'm in 2,200 square feet, and I went through the summer here, and I have a jacuzzi, which when the heat isn't on, it could be pool-like. But I was obsessing about doing this infinity edge pool because I'm in the house and maybe I should get a new house because it's so much bother to put in a pool. All out of my brain. Now I'm going, what beach can I go to? What beach could I go to? Where could I go to get some water time? Out of my mind. I don't want a pool and I am not moving.
Plus, you had some unexpected guests for a long time because of COVID. Yes, I agree. So anecdotally, I think so that's one of the things I did not list. Let's talk about the other two things. Let's talk about these, I'm not using the right words, the moratoriums, the eviction moratoriums, the forbearances. Now, I'm hearing.
Well, I'm the legislative chair, so you're in my bailiwick.
I'm reading that people are catching up on their forbearances. I'm also seeing and hearing that some of this money is going to be landlords. So everyone waiting for this glut of inventory that's going to supposedly happen when the eviction moratorium comes up. Is that overplayed? Is that overhyped?
It is overhyped, but I'm going to put it with the but. When you're behind on your rental, you can move out and nothing happens. You're right that we're putting up
Get another.
proposal. Yeah. You're right that we're proposing for the landlords to give them a payback to keep the tenants in a few more months till the world levels up. The moratorium we're figuring is probably going to go a 30-day extension. Las Vegas is booming back, and that's another conversation. Now, we ourselves in our office had 2 transactions that the seller had back money owed and they didn't take it in. So we have to consider, if they're putting their mortgage on hold, that they have to pay their mortgage and that money they put on hold. So there's 2 categories, right?
But this is the difference of the time last time. When shit hit the fan last time, people were so leveraged, there was
Yes.
no landing. Now
Right.
there's equity and there's money being artificially filtered in.
Right. So my answer is short sale foreclosure, minor. Yes, there will be some. There's my answer to you as far, but you are so right. Because 08 or 07, and you want to compare to that Great Depression, there is no.
You're 6 to 8 months behind on your mortgage. You can't make that up. Now you can.
And they're talking, the banks smartly are talking about, let's renegotiate the loan. Let's make it a new 30-year loan. Take your payment, change it around. That they're not saying we want your house. But again, not 2008.
Okay.
Everyone's been saying, oh, I'm gearing up for the short sale foreclosure market. You better get out of gear because it's not going to be huge. And no numbers show it. And Dave, because I'm on that, I could tell you, as far as the renters in Las Vegas, around 9% are behind, and up north around 3% are behind. Those aren't the numbers that are staggering.
So let's go back to, I believe these were the 3 with Buffini or with applied analysis. You have job growth, you have interest rates, and maybe it was unemployment. I don't know. There's 3 of them. And we've handled some issues already. People are going to have different relationships where they live, how they work, and whatnot. Maybe that plays a little blip on the radar towards less of craziness. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows, right? Maybe people are more willing to do things. Maybe they're less likely to do it. We don't know. Maybe that evens it out. Then we talk about the moratorium. Are we going to get an influx of inventory? I don't think so.
Either.
Now, there's 2 more things I want to talk about. You mentioned Las Vegas. We also have to talk about the fact that what happens in New York City and is different than happens in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Right?
Our unemployment is the highest in the country.
There's a very regional way of looking at the real estate market. Even though we have higher unemployment, the excitement surrounding this city right now with the projects is almost like the pandemic never happened.
The irony of this weekend is that you were downtown, which you and I never go to. You were downtown on Sunday night, and I was downtown on Friday night. So it's strange, different times, different people. And what we both saw was insanity of a huge amount of people all around us.
Which, shout out to Angie's father. Well, my father-in-law was in town, and they were staying at the Plaza. We ate at Oscar's, and I've eaten there before, but oh my God, what an underrated experience. Unbelievable steaks, unbelievable. Then we went over to Circa, which I said yesterday. Alex, can I get places that don't believe that there's any pandemic has ever happened? I'll take Circa for 500. It was like a Sunday night at Circa with March Madness happening. The place was insanity. You can get a blackjack table for less than $25 a hand. You have to pay $25 a hand.
That's the old days.
and $50 just to go look and hang out in the pool.
I didn't
So
understand what you meant.
I
It's
don't know if they were trying to keep riffraff out, but basically to be inside of Circa, you had to spend some money. If you were going to gamble, you had to spend some money. If you had to go, the pool, I don't know if you've seen it, you can watch on these amazingly big screens games and whatnot. So it's experience. It's like getting into a club, right? You make it free, it's packed. But anyway, back to the original point. This is still inside of the pandemic. The more people that feel comfortable, and listen, this isn't an argument on whether or not to get vaccinated. I don't care if you get vaccinated. That's not, but people are gonna feel comfortable one way or another. You're gonna fall into pretty much probably three categories, maybe four. I've had COVID, so I don't care. I'm vaccinated, so I don't care. I'm gonna try to thread the needle with herd immunity, and I haven't had COVID, and I'm not getting the vaccine, or I'm not ever leaving my house again. So,
category 2 for me.
so I believe that category 2 and 1 have grown so much. So many people have had COVID, right? Now people aren't holding back. Remember, no one wanted to admit it. Now everyone's saying, I had it in March, I had it in this, or whatever. People getting vaccinated, 2.5 million people a day. And then more people are feeling, whether it's peer pressure or whatever, people are coming out. So that's not just our town, our city. It's the people who are in Kansas City who are like, I want to get the hell out of the house. We're vaccinated now, or the company is, excuse me, the company, it could be called a company. The country is opening up. We have three options. We can go to Mexico, Hawaii, or we can go domestic. And if you're going domestic, you're coming to Vegas, especially if it's open. So I believe all these jobs are going to come back. You have Resorts World opening. You have the Drew getting worked on. You have the Sphere happening. I mean, they're opening
You
up.
have Virgin opening tomorrow, the old Hard Rock.
Remember, we used to, how many openings did we go to?
Oh, we went to every implosion and every opening.
Every
the first,
opening.
yeah, about probably 10 already.
We did Aladdin. I remember when we became Planet Hollywood. We did a lot of openings.
Right.
So
It's fun. It's a fun city. We have to realize that's coming. This is a fun city to live in. And a lot of people don't have that fun. And we're fun. We are fun to live in.
it worked on me. I had that feeling, you know what, that Vegas energy. I had a filet in me, a couple of gin and tonics in me, maybe a Blanton old fashioned or two in me. I had a nice little bankroll going. The energy, I felt it. I felt it. Just opportunity around. So I think the jobs are going to come back really quickly here.
I agree with you 1000%.
So that's not going to, if you're looking for Vegas to get crushed, we definitely fall off the cliff the fastest, but we recover the fastest.
And it's funny, Dave, because 7 or 8 months ago on Facebook, people were saying, I'm out of here. We can never come back. And I was like, whoa, hold on there, buddy. Don't quit so fast. We have reinvented ourselves for the 25 years I'm here. I mean, don't quit so fast.
And guess what else has come? Guess what market's hotter than hell is New York City. Starting to heat up again.
Well, you people were writing that off too. And I commented because I'm born and raised there. Don't write off New York City because it's a comeback city. But you're going to see the shows, the Broadway shows come back. I went to a new restaurant last night in Red Rock, that Ostera, I don't know. It was phenomenal. I had chicken.
Thank God, you actually, expensive but phenomenal.
No, I had chicken poulade. It was absolutely delicious. It was $24. Is that expensive?
No, I thought you were saying before you went, you were bitching about the prices to me, and I said it was Mark Vetri, the guy from Vetri Cucina,
and yeah, and
I've
they
heard
say
nothing
that
but amazing things about that place, and
the rigatoni bolognese, the bread I probably have to walk a few extra miles this morning. And the chicken palade were absolutely delicious. Service was phenomenal.
And so now you're also going to try also Lido Posto and
I've been trying at places like sold out. You gotta, like Georgia said, you gotta go at 4 o'clock and get the meatloaf special.
you know, we can. I'll probably take care of you. I may know a person or two over there. So, all right. So we talked about very few things that can mess with it, and a lot of things that are going to make us go right. All right. Here's the one thing that I think can really hurt, and it's interest rates.
I think interest rates, you know, it's so funny, Dave, you talk about interest rates because interest rates are a mindset. So when the rates were dropping so much, we were like, what the hell? Why isn't every single person buying a house? Because our interest rates are so low. And then all of a sudden, I think everybody heard our conversation because the buyers came out of the woodwork, right?
Mhm.
So with interest rates, yes, they were classically unbelievably low, and they've gone up a little bit. But understand again, when Dave was born, him and his my ex-wife, we bought a house, and the interest rate was 8.5 for a conventional loan in 77. So if they're at 3.25 and 3.5 right now, 2 years from now, we're going to say, wow, we should have took the 3.5, right? Because they're going up. The same thing with a
What is it
price of
today?
house.
I'm
And I
doing a
don't
quick,
know.
wait. What is it today? I'm doing a quick mortgage calculator. Is it 3.25, 3%? What is it for a 20?
There's a high rate of 3.25. Let's just
All right,
go
let's
with
go
that.
with three. But you keep talking.
Um, the same thing with the market, guys. You say, oh my God, am I paying 500,000 for this house that last year was 450? Well, guess what, my friends? In 10 years, it's going to be 600. The market goes like this. I've been in it since 77, April. So next month it'll be 44 years. High, low, dip. Sometimes it's a V, sometimes it's hills and dales. But in the end, what you bought 20 years ago is going to be 2 to 3 times greater than it is now. So don't look at the
So here's what's funny. You want to hear
look at the
something funny?
numbers, your mortgage payment. Go ahead.
$500,000 house with 20% down. Okay.
420 loan. Did you do that on purpose?
No, it's a $400,000 loan.
Oh,
$500,000 house,
all
20%
right.
down, $400,000 loan
How much?
at 3%. 1686. Now,
Get me a rental for that.
you're not including it. It'll be about another $600-700 more a month with taxes, insurance, and whatnot, right? And HOAs. Then, so that's 1686 for 500K house with 100 down. Then, if you go with $400,000 house with 80 down, 20%, 80,000 down, at 4%, it actually goes down the price. So a 1% higher of an interest rate is actually 1527.
Right.
So when people who are like, this is why it's smart, the interest rate goes up 1%, that price goes down 100,000. You're paying less for the higher priced home. It's insane, right? So if we keep doing that, I mean, even if let's say it went up to 5%, right? Let's say we have a 5% interest rate, but the price went down 20%, right? And now, even then,
Can I talk about something while you're
even
calculating?
then you're at 1717. You're almost
So-
even. You're almost even at 400K house. Just if you're waiting for the price to go down with a 5% interest rate, it's 1717. 500,000 now is 1686 with 3%. You almost that's why we have no inventory.
And remember, when you calculate taxes, it's usually less than 1% of your sales price. So that is so phenomenally low. Here's one of the free points we're going to give you. If you have an abnormal association price, it devaluates the price of the home.
No,
So you ask me,
No,
Go ahead.
no.
I'll argue with you.
It depends on the price point.
Right. Oh, no, and that's,
My community, in
let me
my
finish.
community, with 300 houses guard gated, the fact that you have to pay 400 a month has made the prices go up because only the people who could pay 400 a month
Okay,
have money.
that's not an abnormal price.
You're talking about condos at 250 with $250,000 with $250 a month.
No, I'm talking about condos at 250 to 400 with a $400 a month
And I'm totally with
payment. I'm talking about townhomes in Summerlin, single story with
no
the
guard gate.
460.
Yeah.
That, so you guys know, who's ever watching, if you're buying a house, you're going to buy that home cheaper because of the prices of the HOA, because the point Dave is bringing up, when you do your payments, that price now hurts because the total payment goes up and it hurts the variance of the price.
I remember back in the day when Queensridge Tower they were selling the small ones for less than $1 million. Remember this? The small units. And they were, I believe at the time, $1,600 a month in fees. Remember this? So even if you owned, because we thought about them, we buy them cash or
Right,
no
right.
mortgage and or a small mortgage, but you'd have to tack on $1,600. And I was joking like, shit, I wouldn't even want to be left that in my will because you're getting, even if someone left me a fully paid off one, I still owe $1,600 a month.
Right. Plus your
Now,
taxes.
exactly. Now they're worth more money. I think they brought down the fees a little bit. So it makes more sense, right?
Right.
But they did that on purpose because they wanted a certain kind of clientele.
And to give you an example of the difference between when I was president of GLVAR in 2013, we had no money because the economy sucked. When Dave was president in 2016, was that your year?
17 right on it.
17, you got a coffee mug. So I enjoy my
It's
coffee
just
mug.
because you're cheap and you didn't want to spend money on nothing.
No, I agree that I'm frugal, but that year things
Dave
were so
Montanaro
tough.
said that Queensridge one's up to $2,100 a month.
Ooh, there it is, 2,100 a month. But in fairness, for 2,100 a month,
Get everything.
high-end product, you could probably afford the 2,100 a month. Do I want to pay that? I agree.
25 over $25,000 a year
In HOA fees.
away. Yeah.
Exclusivity, Dave Montenario,
I could not agree more with you. But you also got to know what you're paying. So everyone moving to Texas from California, they're in for a rude awakening with the 3%.
Tell them when you were there.
There's between 2 to 3% of property taxes. So if you buy a $500,000 house in Texas, you're getting this huge house, right?
Tell them what that house you were looking at for investment. Where
Well,
was
it was in the M streets. I loved it.
it?
Where it was still in like downtown Dallas, is having a revitalization. They did this in Queens. They knock it down all the way and they build up a kind of like a modern McMansion.
And I'm with him when he's looking. I'm visiting.
And I'm looking, these are gorgeous houses, and it's 500,000. I'm doing the numbers and I'm like, put 150 down, whatever, of a 350 mortgage, super doable. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, holy shit, these are $15,000 in taxes a year.
And some were 25.
No.
No, 15.
Then you had the not the Melrose, that's California. You had an extra fee, right? So you're talking anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 extra a month for taxes and extra fees. It was actually going to be the same amount or more than my mortgage, my principal and interest.
Right.
Then you go, I was also looking in San Diego, you get an $800,000 house and the taxes are only $8,000 for the entirety of you live there. What proposition is that?
13.
So you have to take all these things into account. So I was joking with Pops at the time. I was like, shit, I could live in California for these prices. Plus, it's not even like with those high property taxes, you're getting the best schools. You still got to send your kids in that area.
In Texas, you're talking about.
In Texas, I would have had to send them to private schools.
Yeah.
So that's an additional fee on top of it. So, as my father likes to say, all that glitters is not gold. So, back to the point. If interest rates go up, I do believe, even with penciling out the numbers, if interest rates go up and prices stay up, that's when it will have an issue. Because I'm only giving you the difference between if prices go down. I'm telling you, don't get scared, but you can't have both. It will become unsustainable very quickly where people are not going to be able to afford the payments.
And the point that Dave is making now is the point, if you're a realtor watching, you should be making to your buyers, why they should buy. And if you're a buyer, no, yes, the market price went up, but the interest rates are so damn low that the thing you should be in, you should worry or be concerned about is, what is my payment? Can I afford it? Can I afford this house? And know that I'm good where it is. That's the, not, am I, don't look at it. You know, we always looked at houses as our home when we bought houses. A lot of people now look at it too much of as an asset.
You know,
It's your home, and it's the place you're going to raise your family and you're going to live, or your partner or whatever.
it's still a way you're going to build equity if you do a 20-year plan. But here's my question to you. This is where the unsustainability comes in. We're banking on the fact that the bartenders and the strip people who work at the strip and everybody there come back, right? Are they priced out now? If they are priced out, they got to go rent. The rent rates are
Well,
crazy.
renting is not the answer there.
You already don't have enough beds for the heads. What's
Yeah.
going to happen here? Are we going to have people just moving? Like, is this going to be like when in Sky Canyon or Pahrump or Boulder City, if you depending which direction you're going,
Well, the
is
city's
that
expensive.
is that the Long Island that we're going to see, where people are going to start
I
trucking in?
do believe that your point on the things you mentioned, the analogy to me is Pahrump, that you'll actually live in a different city that you work. And a lot of people on the affordability, a lot of the people are saying, well, it's not right if you aren't able to work close to, live close to where you work. My
To a degree,
answer to that, I drove 60 miles to my job when I lived in Long Island because I couldn't afford to live closer. So though I empathize, that was the way for me, even there, to build equity, you
well,
know.
even the opportunity zones, they never work. I mean, they basically leverage the shit out of them. They become expensive housing, and you know,
Well, I think opportunity zones with strict restrictions do work, but I think that they have to be a partnership of all, and they have to have restrictions that they just don't become a profit center.
the problem is that once you do multifamily, you think that the price is going to go down because people are going to pay less for the multifamily. Even Affinity over here was a little shaky at one point, and now people are paying some big money to
Yes, you're right. That
be
is an
there,
excellent point.
right? I mean, remember it was like a
Yeah,
shaky
it
piece.
was like give it away now.
Yep. And now
5%. Yeah,
those
yeah.
prices are respectable. People who bought Infinity they are not unhappy.
And their rent prices are now going up. So as an investment, if you bought, it just became a better deal.
It's not a
So
rental in 89135 under 3,000 right
really, a house, you mean?
now. Yeah. I mean, we were doing the numbers. We were debating about buying that house that I told you that lasted a little bit longer on the market. We were
Right.
just doing some quick numbers. We had to put 25% down because it's a rental home. It was an elevated rate because we didn't talk about this, a non-owner occupied.
Now pays
And
a higher rate.
it was up to 3,875, almost 4%. Still, all in landscaping, the whole nine was going to cost us $2,100, and we were going to be able to put it up for $2,995 and probably get 2,800 or 2,900. And if
No,
someone was
you probably
desperate,
would have got 3,000
three
because of the
thousand dollars,
shortage.
and now we took, I don't know, it would have maybe been like $130,000 of our own money, and now we're bringing home. It was like a 6% return on our money when you do the cap rate. And
Which 6% you can't get in the bank, and then you take the profit that you're going to get from buying
paying
the
off your
house.
mortgage,
Right.
even if you're exactly. I mean, I know this is 101 for maybe 20% of you watching, but for 80% of you watching, you got to roll these numbers out.
And your
That's why you can't get anything.
second home interest is totally deductible. The interest on your first investment is totally deductible.
And that's why people are doing it over and over again. So even, and you got to play out every scenario. If we would have bought it at 500 and goes down to 400, who cares? I'm
Right.
still if anything, rents would probably go up because people would sell their houses.
Right. And now in COVID days, the difference between that is who knew we'd get a year of not paying rent. Dave made a point. I had 2 rental houses. I still have a condo I own. And he said, "Oh my God, Dad, what you could have got this year for them." Yes, but I got paid rent right up until I sold them. And unfortunately, after March of last year, from April on, a lot of people didn't get paid rent. And unfortunately, their mortgages aren't getting paid on their rental if they didn't have backup money. So there's a lot of moving.
True, but you would have never made that mistake. And I'm going to give you the credit here. You were never like a person, I'm going to give someone more than a year rent, because here's why. This is landlord 101. You want the opportunity to raise the rent and not to be greedy. Costs go up to own a home. Okay.
Costs go up in your businesses. Costs go. I mean, our first rent from 9-10 years ago was coming to now is.
Yeah, it was 7,800 just in one location. Now it's 28, right? So
right,
because we expanded. But listen, so you wouldn't have had that. Then if I was gonna, let's say I ended up with this rental, because I am committed to buying a couple a year. I'm gonna dollar cost average this. What does dollar cost averaging means? It means you keep buying a stock or something regardless of what the market's doing. If the market's going up, you're still buying. If the market's going down, you're still buying. It's just being committed to investing over and over and over again. You have the money to invest because you work and you invest in yourself and you have skills and you make a lot of money every year. After 10, 20 years, you're set for life, right? So even if I was going to rent it, you said to me, I know you said it, remember we were talking about, you were like, what about the eviction moratorium? Listen, I was going to do 6-month rentals and collect 3 months up front.
There's a law of how much. There is a law. I asked the question, and there is a law how much you could collect. I think between security and rents, the most you could collect is 3 months, but that would get you.
I don't think there is a law, because I've had people who've paid their rents up front in order to get a better deal.
Property managers are listening to us. Tell us how much.
I'd love to see if there's a law. I don't think.
No, I said I think. I'm not giving you God, because fortunately for us, we don't do property management because it's an ugly business that has gotten so much uglier in the pandemic.
No, we still list rentals. We don't.
No, I know that. I'm talking about property management.
Because it's also,
it's so hard with what's going on.
It's a different game. But now you can understand this market. So here we are analyzing this market. But I will give you the oh shit scenario. If people pull out of stocks because it becomes fear in the stock market and they believe they're worth less money, and then they pull out of Bitcoin, if all of that money that isn't realized starts disappearing and evaporating, there will be a scarcity feeling that could affect the whole game. And that is the concern of the debt and inflation, because we haven't talked about inflation. People are very concerned about inflation.
Right.
And listen, I've never had more money in my life, but I've never felt like my buying power is less. Does that make sense?
And yes. And I want to make this statement. For those of you who lost your job to the pandemic and you're renting or you're having trouble with your house, our hearts go out to you. And we truly believe that help was coming and that life will be better. So I don't want to talk like we're this corporation that doesn't believe. People that truly lost their job to the pandemic and they can't afford things. Thank God we don't have to pay the rent, and that there's assistance for utilities out there and there's food banks. So with everything coming back, I think it's a chance for everybody to get back on their feet. So that's just a statement that Dave and I we empathize, we sympathize, and we donate to the causes that hopefully will try to help take care of you.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't want to
speaking
seem
good.
like it's a
Yeah,
capitalist view.
we're speaking in generalities, okay, when
Right.
it comes to, but we're also, if we're investors or whatnot, if we had our own personal rentals right now and we had our own renters, yes, we'd be working with them and trying to take care of them. But on the same time, is listen, I tend to empathize with the most underdog and the most hurting in the equation. So I'm going to empathize with the renter who lost their job first. Then I'm empathizing with the landlord who maybe can't afford the mortgage because the renter isn't paying it. I'm not really necessarily empathizing with the banks, but I am empathizing with the investors, normal people who invest in the banks. So everyone's getting hit when that's why the rising tide raises everybody. That's why we need more empathy and we're in it together. And unfortunately, I think we've become a more individualized, selfish society, and that is what it is. But this is the market. We're talking about the market and strategy. But yes, if it was you or I, Dad, and we could cover the cost and we can write it off and it's not going to end our life and we could take care of people in there or work with them, personally, yes, we would have done that. But every situation is unique and there's context behind every situation. The Nevada realtors did this hit piece. I'm sorry, it was propaganda, where they were like, they did this poor woman who was a landlord who had cancer, who couldn't pay for her rental property because the renter didn't pay. And that is a very anecdotal situation. But I empathize with that woman. But you have to, what's the other side of that coin? The other side of the coin is a multinational corporation owning hundreds of rentals and they could afford it times 10. So, and there's the renter who actually lost his job and he can't pay. And then there's a renter who could pay and is strategically not paying. So there's always two sides to every single story.
And Dave, the legislative has differentiates between what they call mom and pop, someone that owns 4 units or under, and 15,000 corporation of rental units on. They know that there's a difference. They
Yeah,
do.
and that's why everyone tries to make things so black and white, but there's context on every single situation. There's
Life is
there's
gray.
three sides to the story, and that's just the real. There's one side, the other side, and the real side, right? So, all right, we beat this to a horse. So the last parting shot with that is, listen, keep investing. I did a whole post on this. Keep putting your money in as long as you can afford it. There's your caveat.
And in '08, when everything went to crap, the reason I survived it is I had 25% down on my houses
You
at
own
that
one
time.
cash, even though it
One,
lost
right. And
fifty
I
three hundred
survived.
thousand dollars.
So don't buy them with 3% down, because then when this does happen, you will not be able to weather the storm.
Well, FHA, they have no choice, right? So
I'm
they
not talking about personal residence. I'm
got you.
talking about investment, because
Good.
we were on investment.
And that's the thing. That's also if you're in a business, right? So when the pandemic hit, we knew, my father and I were conservative with our money. We knew we had a longer runway because we have no debt and we could afford to pay our staff and make it through the
And kept
pandemic
every one of our staff on.
because we didn't over leverage. And don't over leverage your life because that's when the greed comes in. If you're disciplined, you win in every single market. Be Warren Buffett. Be disciplined. So that's that. We spent a lot more time than I thought with that. So I guess we're just going to kind of wrap it up for the last 10, 12 minutes on this little epiphany I had.
You always are having epiphanies.
Teaching an entire session tomorrow that I'm super jacked up about because I love doing this. I love the different quarters. So Q1 for us is 1 year. We live the 12-week year. We believe that each quarter is you could get a year's worth of work, a year's worth of production done. So when Q2 hits, it's like a new year. Okay. That's why we take care of our agents really well. Every month, every quarter, we celebrate them, we recognize them. Because some agents do more in one quarter than the majority of agents do in an entire year, right? So you can lose 30 pounds in a quarter. You can revive your marriage in a quarter. You can make $100,000 in a quarter. You could do this. So Q2 tomorrow, teaching 2 hours, Infinite Path coaching for our Urban Nest agent. I'm super psyched. But this is what I was thinking about that. I was thinking about a wake-up call.
Like an alarm clock?
Right? With no alarm clock. So, you know how people are like, they want to be woken up. And I think I was talking to a friend of mine this week, and we were talking about dreams. And we were talking about how you can get caught in your day-to-day. Okay? Don't sabotage me and undermine me with that dog.
I'm not.
So
It's National Puppy Day though yesterday.
it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So the wake-up call is this. The wake-up call is, holy shit, you're gonna die. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day. Right? And the pandemic for a lot of people should have been a wake-up call. Right? We literally go through life asleep. We get up, we're in our routine, and all of a sudden 10 years are gone. And we didn't grow, and we didn't have intentions and goals. And I was like, you cannot wake up in your life unless you set an alarm clock. And you like that, right?
I do.
So this was my epiphany. Where are the alarm clocks in your life? Like those little things that are there to wake you the fuck up, right? And if we don't set, I know you don't like when I curse. If we don't set them up, basically these wake-up calls are commitments and goals and things that we need to dream about doing to get leverage on ourselves and have a sense of urgency because we're going to die, and have a sense of purpose around it so that we're not going to fail the 80-year-old rocking chair test. So let me give you the rocking chair test. You're sitting in your front yard. This may not work on you because you're a simple, happy man, but you're sitting in your front yard.
How about a happy man? I don't know if I want the simple.
Not simple like not
like Simple Simon. I knew we wouldn't go through a whole meeting
so
without you.
So picture you're at the end of your life, okay? 85, 90, whatever it is.
Oh, I want it to be 100, but I'm good.
But there's no more time. There's no more time. And you may say to me, because you're a bad anecdote to talk about this, but you may say, I have no regrets. And I'm not saying people should live with regrets. But what is it when you're sitting there and you're thinking about your whole life that you lived and you're like, shit, I should have asked this person out. I should have said this to this person. I should have traveled here. I should have kept in touch with this friend. That's the test. That's the rocking chair test. And if you never wake up, you die at 25, but live to 75.
That's a great analogy.
That's not my quote. That's a Mark Twain quote, right? Okay. So that's where it's like, to prevent from stop dreaming and just give in to life, you need to set up wake-up calls in your life. So would you have regret on anything?
Nope.
You don't have to tell me. I knew you were going to answer that.
I won't. Look, at this age, I get a puppy. I'm on my hands and knees cleaning up. If you didn't get a puppy because you said you're too old, that's your point. If I said, ooh, I got to stop working because I'm too old, that's your point. If I didn't say I'm going to Southern California and Mexico this year for vacations because I'm too old and everyone will be near me, that's your point. And I'm not. I'm living my life. And that's...
To me, you've had at least 4 acts. You had your childhood in Queens. You had your life in Long Island. You had your Vegas life, and now you have this life here, right? And you've had the horse world, you've had the Landmark Cafe world, being an owner there, you've had the fireman being in what, 20 years there. So you had the urban nest, you had,
All of that, and I'm only 49 years old. That is such a masterful act. Masterful, Dave. I love it.
so you know what, I'll give it to you. You've, and you got we have a great relationship, so it's not like you have an
No,
estranged um you got
Dave, in my life, no one could be better. I have you, who I love with all my heart. I have a daughter-in-law that I feel is my daughter, and I have three granddaughters that nothing could make me laugh, smile, and get the warmest heart than having that. And in between that, we have a business successfully together, and I have great friends, great relationships. I am a happy man. You always said I wake up with a smile every day when you live with me. And the reason I do and still do is I know how lucky I am to have what I have. I
well, you
never go
definitely,
around saying life sucks. Life
you
is
are not Mel Brooks, that's for
no.
sure. um so yeah, so that was kind of my,
Now, you could throw me off if me and you aren't getting along. You're part of the core
yeah,
there.
listen, I'm giving you a little bit, because I don't want to get too personal. I'm giving you a little bit of a get out of jail free pass here,
Say
but
hello to your sister.
I would say,
Say hello to
that you
sister.
have, you could definitely sing My Way pretty well with Frank Sinatra. And I think that's the goal. And I think a lot of people, I don't think, I know a lot of people forget how to dream. And I think they let life beat them down so hard, and they let the things that are not easy make them stop dreaming, and they
Yeah.
give in some area of their life. They give up on their body, they give up on their relationships, they give up on their faith, regardless if it's in the
And
law of
here's the
attraction
great
or God.
news. Here's the great news. You could give up on anything and wake up on any given day and restart it.
But you need the wake up call.
Yes, you need the
And
alarm
that's the
clock to
thing.
go up.
You need the alarm clock. You have to set these little alarm clock bombs all over you, all around you, to make you go. And I
Right.
think it has nothing to do with success, because there's someone somewhere who's a billionaire that needs to set an wake up call in
Mm-hmm.
his relationship or her life or her body. There's wake up calls. And I think I was just analyzing this as I was like, a lot of people walking through life asleep. And while they're asleep, they're definitely not dreaming. And even
So
if they
there's
are,
zombies.
they're zombies. And they're not waking up. Even if they are dreaming, they're not waking up and following those dreams. But I don't even think it's that. I think people have forgotten how to have a dream. They've lost their purpose. When you lose your purpose and you lose your meaning, you lose your way. And it doesn't matter what you symbolically put it. I realize now you symbolically made me your purpose, and that drove you so hard, right? Whether it was financially, being my father, like that drove you. Everybody needs a purpose. It's got to be a purpose. Now, there's some unhealthy things. Thankfully, we got a
Mm.
little bit of a divorce. We needed to, right? But and we grow.
And you know what else, Dave? Yesterday we spent some time together, and half of the time we were belly laughing. Learn how to laugh. Don't take yourself so serious. And we had some time yesterday and we had some great laughs. And man, laugh while you can, because there's enough time to cry. And we know how to make fun of each other, laugh at each other, enjoy each other. That's part of it. When you wake up to enjoy everybody around you, because there's a value in every person you meet. Just look for it.
So, it's that saying, smile at the world and the world smiles back. And that's the perspective. Because what my father's saying, and he's doing it naturally, is that everyone's going to go through tough shit. And some people are going to wake up with a smile on their face and figure it out. And some people are going to let it define them and ruin their life. I look at my dog Lily, she's losing her She's losing
Yeah.
one leg and the back leg, and she's still the happiest person, the happiest dog in the world. She's going to persevere. My daughter, Gianna, is dealing with, she had 101 fever for a couple of days. She still wakes up with this shit-eating grin. Her soul is so pure and happy. And I'm like looking, because you got to look for the alarm clocks in your life. You got to look for them. Because if you don't, you're done. Because you'll be worse than a zombie. You're going to be a miserable bastard that no one wants to be around. But there's something that I wanted to share with you that I thought was so, I wrote it down. Oh, all right. You know how much I love TikTok, right?
Mhm.
I think I sent this to you. And I said, share one quote. This is going to be my parting shot. One quote that I'm getting chills just talking about it, that touches you. I actually was talking to Ella and Lola, and I started crying talking about it, because if you let this saying really go deep, it means everything. And the saying, that the quote is, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. Isn't that nice?
It is.
And they didn't understand because they're so young. And I said, this moment right now where I'm talking to the two of you, we're in bed and we're talking about life. And Ella, you're 9, and Lola, you're 7, and we're having this conversation. There's going to be a dinner 20 years from now when your families, and we're going to be having fun, and we're going to talk about how we used to have these conversations when you were 7 and 9. And if we don't appreciate them now, we may never get the chance to appreciate them when we want to. And I said, don't let the moment slip by. And I thought that was beautiful. So that was our mindset portion. It was a nice way to end it, don't you think?
I do.
Because none of this shit matters unless you're right here. Oh, one more thing. And you're not going to have a good mindset unless you got a good heart set. You know what that energy healer told me, Dad?
Yes.
So you know how I question the validity of a lot of it. She gets to my heart and she goes,
You're as cold as ice. I'm only kidding you.
someone's telling me to tell you that your heart is okay. And she said, I didn't mean love. I'm talking about physically. Someone's telling me to tell you that your heart is okay. Pretty powerful.
I don't think she'd tell me that, but that's
I
okay.
know, but she knows I have whatever. All right, guys. Any parting shots?
Enjoy the rest of the day. The weather is finally going to start getting warm this weekend as Dave and Georgia go away on vacation. We're looking at the 80s. Enjoy spring and watch the flowers bloom.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. Have a great day. You're in the good old days right now.